What if I told you that your downfall doesn't begin in private, but in public? In the eyes of the crowd, reputations are born and destroyed. Today, we unravel the 9 fatal errors people make in public that quietly ruin their power, influence, and dignity. Learn how to avoid these errors like Machiavelli himself and never appear weak again. Imagine walking through a crowded street. Eyes are on you. Some glance and forget, but others observe with quiet intensity. In every crowd, there are enemies disguised as friends, rivals wearing smiles, and manipulators lurking behind applause. They are not interested in your story. They are waiting for your slip. That slip is emotional weakness, a tremble in your voice, a nervous glance, a tear held just a second too long. And when it happens, they won't comfort you. They will catalog you as fragile. You see, in public, emotion is not interpreted as humanity. It is interpreted as vulnerability. And vulnerability, when witnessed by those who compete for power, does not inspire empathy. It signals opportunity. The moment you reveal inner turmoil, you shift the balance. You are no longer the one in control. You are the one being observed, assessed, judged, and ranked. Machiavelli understood this well. Power is perception, and perception is born in public. Think of the powerful: kings, rulers, corporate leaders, generals, even cunning politicians. How often have you seen them break? Not in controlled environments, but truly break openly, unpredictably. Rarely. Because the illusion of composure is their armor, and the wise never take off their armor in a battlefield, and public is always a battlefield. Every man or woman who walks among the people is in the arena, whether they choose to fight or not. You don't need to speak to engage in battle. You only need to be seen. And when you're seen showing fear, panic, or sorrow, your authority, what you are really doing is giving others the blueprint to manipulate you. They now know what affects you. They know your triggers. They know how to recreate the moment that broke you. And the worst part, they'll do it with a smile, pretending to care, while pulling the same string behind the curtain again and again. Some say, but we are human. Should we not express ourselves? The answer is yes, but not in public. Expressing is for the private chamber, the mirror, the sanctuary of solitude. Or if you are fortunate, to a trusted advisor who does not benefit from your downfall. Never to the masses. The crowd does not need your truth. The crowd needs your image. Because once you dissolve into emotion in front of others, they no longer follow you, they pity you. And pity is not a form of loyalty. It is a form of superiority in disguise. No one ever obeyed the weeping prince. They watched him. They judged him. They talked about him. But they did not follow him. Even your allies, even those who claim to be on your side, begin to reassess your worth when they see public emotion. Not because they are cruel, but because people instinctively follow strength, stability, certainty. These are the qualities that command loyalty and fear alike. When you lose your emotional control, you don't just appear weak. You appear unstable. And instability breeds distrust. Once they can't predict your behavior, they hesitate to align with you. And when they hesitate, your influence begins to decay. Now consider the subtle emotions too. Nervousness, fidgeting, insecurity. These are not outbursts, but they are signals, and people are trained by evolution to read these signals. Subtle keys betray your internal reality. A man who can command silence while chaos brews within is a master of power. But a man who wears his heart on his sleeve in front of the crowd is a puppet without strings. Someone who is easy to interpret, easier to provoke, and easiest to defeat. Even in moments of injustice, you must not surrender to emotion in public. The more justified your anger, the more necessary your restraint. Because when you restrain, the crowd leans in. They wonder what you are thinking. They cannot categorize you. And the unknown is always more powerful than the known. The man who explodes with rage is dismissed as emotional. But the one who holds silence with intensity is feared. Because they cannot be read. Machiavelli wrote that it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. But I tell you, it is better to be unreadable than known, because to be known is to be predictable. And to be predictable is to be controllable. Emotional weakness makes you transparent, and the transparent man is never the master of his destiny. He is merely character in someone else's strategy. So when betrayal comes, don't cry in the square. When injustice strikes, don't scream in front of the mob. When doubt creeps in, don't show it at the table. Walk with the calm of a man who has already won the war. Even if you're losing the battle, let them think you are invincible. Not because you are, but because they will never see the day you're not. There is a fatal instinct that infects those who are misunderstood or challenged publicly, the need to explain, to clarify, to make others see the truth from your side. Understand this: in the world of power, explaining is a trap. When you over-explain, you are not correcting a misunderstanding. You are placing yourself beneath the judgment of others. And the Machiavellian mind never kneels before opinion. It shapes it. Think about what really happens when you begin to defend yourself. You are already assuming that the other person's opinion or accusation has power. You're affirming their right to question you, to demand a justification, to position themselves as judge. And the moment you accept that role play, you forfeit your authority. Authority never explains. Kings do not justify decrees. Strategists do not reveal their logic. Commanders do not explain the route of retreat during war. They act, and others adapt. To defend is to confess and disguise. Even if you are right, even if your actions are honorable and your intentions pure, the moment you try to convince others, you admit that you are on trial. That admission is poison. Because now the observer no longer sees a confident actor in control of events, a defendant pleading their case. And once you become a defendant in the public mind, you cannot be a leader. You cannot be feared. You cannot be respected. You become a voice trying to persuade, not a force that commands. Look at the powerful throughout history. When they are accused, they rarely respond directly. They speak through symbols, through silence, through action. Their absence becomes a message. Their composure becomes a shield. Because once you engage with an accuser or critic in public, you make them equal. You bring them onto your stage. You elevate their importance. And worse, you validate their question. The crowd that never even noticed the criticism now stops, turns, and listens. Why? Because you responded. Because you explained. Now the fire you could have smothered with silence becomes a spectacle. Let your presence answer the accusation. Let your results speak over your rebuttals. If your words were misunderstood, it is not your duty to break yourself trying to be understood. The truth never begs. The truth either stands alone, or it is not worth defending at all. When Machiavelli advised rulers, he told them to appear just, but never to justify every act. Why? Because too much explain exposes your inner workings. It shows the audience that you are worried, that their perception controls your response. You are not the master of the narrative, but a slave to their misunderstanding. And here is the cruel truth that most people do not seek understanding when they question you. They seek dominance. Your defense is not their path to clarity. It is their signal that you are beneath them. And once they sense that, they will never stop. One question turns into two into doubt, doubt into gossip, gossip into damage. The strong do not feed the public's curiosity. They starve it. They remain a mystery wrapped in bold action. That is power. Even worse, over-explaining always feels insecure. And insecurity cannot be hidden, no matter how well worded the defense may be. The very tone of your voice, the speed of your sentences, the need to justify your thoughts. It all tells the world that you are unsure, and the world never follows the unsure. They dissect them, mock them, replace them. You don't need to prove anything to the crowd. Let the ones who understand walk with you. Let the rest wander in confusion. Confusion is better than contempt. And remember, explanations are rarely remembered. Only impressions remain. When you defend yourself once, people may nod, but when you do it repeatedly, they begin to wonder. Why does he feel the need to do that? You think you're clearing your name, but in truth, you're creating a new identity. The one who always has to explain. The one who is constantly misunderstood. The one who seeks validation through words, not through action. That is not power. That is performance. And performance for the crowd is weakness. Hold your frame. If they say you are wrong, let them speak. Let them speak so much that they reveal their own motives, your authority. Let them ask questions you never answer. Let your silence be so deliberate that it shakes their confidence more than your argument ever could. The powerful man never responds to everything. He chooses when to speak. And when he speaks, he does not explain. He declares. Let others swim in the chaos of interpretation. You walk forward. Composed, unapologetic, because once you choose to explain, you step off your throne and sit at their table. And at their table, you are no longer the one who controls the game. You are the one waiting to be accepted. Jealousy is a disease of the weak. It is not simply a feeling. It is a public confession of inferiority. And once you display it, even for a second, you announce to the world that someone else possesses something you believe you lack. In the mind of Machiavelli, envy is more dangerous than hatred because it corrodes you from within while exposing you to all without. The envious man does not gain power. He becomes a mirror, reflecting the strength of others while erasing his own. Imagine a court filled with nobles. A prince arrives, praised by the crowd, celebrated for his speech, admired for his posture, his intellect, his charm. And you standing in the corner, allow the poison to rise. Why him? Why not me? You try to hide it, but your eyes narrow. Your words sharpen, your energy shifts. And everyone around you notices. They may not say it, but they feel it. They smell the insecurity before you even speak. That is the cost of envy. It stains your presence, and once the stain is visible, your authority begins to rot. Envy is not respected. It is mocked. It is seen as petty, childish, desperate. People may sympathize with failure. They may even admire your struggle. But when you show envy, you are neither a struggler nor a rival. You are a spectator complaining about the winner. And the moment you take that role, you remove yourself from the game of power. You no longer influence, you resent, and resentment never builds empires. It only festers in the shadows while others rule. If you see another person praised, outperforming you, leading ahead of you, your job is not to hate, it is to observe. Study their moves, not with bitterness, but with strategy. A true Machiavellian mind asks, what made this man admired? What flaw in me left that opportunity open? How can I learn from this without ever exposing that I am watching? The master never lets his curiosity be mistaken for jealousy, because once people know you feel threatened, they will test you further. Prince does not fear the success of another. He uses it. He amplifies it when needed, then neutralizes it when the time is right. If someone else wins public favor, let them have it for a while. Applaud them if needed. Smile, watch, measure, but never let your pride bleed into the room. Pride can be managed, but envy is revolting, reveals too much. It tells others that you are not content, not secure, not confident in your own path. That is the greatest error. Power is rooted in certainty. Even when you are behind, you must act as if you've already won. Those who envy waste their energy circling the accomplishments of others while their own kingdom collapses. Their focus is scattered. Their ambition turns outward. They become obsessed with someone else's light instead of building their own fire. This is how rulers become rebels, how leaders become critics, how once promising men are reduced to bitter commentators on the success they failed to match. There's another truth you must understand. When you show envy, you create enemies where none existed. The person you envy may have no ill will, no rivalry, no plan to overpower you. But once they see the look in your eyes, once they hear the tone of your compliments, they will understand you for what you are, not a partner, but a rival. And now, you have turned someone who could have been neutral, or even useful, into a threat. You activated their defense. And for what? For a feeling you couldn't control. That is not power. That is amateurism. Envy also reveals a scarcity mindset. It shows the world that you believe there is not enough success to go around. That someone else's rise automatically means your fall. But in the world of power, that's a childish belief. A true strategist knows that power is not found. It is taken. It is created. It is manufactured by will, focus, and intelligent moves. The man who envies is too distracted to make any of those moves. He is too busy watching the throne instead of building his own. When others rise, let them. When others are admired, smile. When others win, study. But keep your soul untouched. Keep your pride sealed in ice. Never let them see that their success moved you, not even a little. Because once you do, the game shifts. You are no longer feared. You are pitted. Or worse, you are laughed at. A prince cannot afford either. So observe quietly, plot wisely, and always walk like the crown is already yours. The moment your intentions are fully known, you become a map, a chart, a predictable equation. And predictable men are tools in someone else's strategy. You must understand, in the world of power, transparency is not virtue. It is vulnerability. The more they know about your next move, the easier it becomes to stop you. The one who broadcasts his ambition invites resistance. The one who conceals his plan invites curiosity and fear. Machiavelli taught that every prince must learn the art of deception, not for the sake of dishonesty, but for the preservation of authority. You tell the world what you are doing, why you are doing it, and what your next steps will be. You are not impressing them. You are disarming yourself. The clever listener will remember. The jealous observer will prepare. The ambitious rival will strike before you even begin. This is the danger of overexposure. People love to speak their plans. They love to be admired for their vision. They think that telling others will earn them respect. But those who seek applause before they achieve are already defeated. Their motivation lies in recognition, not in victory. And when you seek recognition, you become a puppet of the crowd, dancing for approval. The Machiavellian mind never dances. It walks silently through rooms, letting its shadow speak louder than any words. You must train yourself to speak in riddles when needed, to give answers that appear meaningful but reveal nothing. Let them believe they understand you. Let them miscalculate. Let them prepare for a move you will never make. That is real power. To control the expectations of others while keeping your true objective sealed deep within. And why is this so critical? Because everyone has an agenda. A friend who smiles may secretly fear your rise. The advisor who flatters may be tracking your weaknesses. The stranger who asks innocent questions may be collecting ammunition. When they know your goals, they can position themselves against you, or worse, copy you. Your originality, your strategy, your timing, all of it becomes diluted the moment is exposed. When you keep your intentions hidden, you gain time. Time to adjust. Time to outmaneuver. Time to observe without being observed. But when you speak too soon, you lose that time. You are locked into a direction, and now the entire world watches your path. Even if you succeed, they will have seen every step. There will be no mystery in your triumph, and without mystery, there is no way. Without awe, there is no lasting power. Silence is not weakness. It is design. It is architecture. It is the invisible layer of strategy that allows you to move without friction. Think of the most powerful moves ever made. Political takeovers, corporate ascents, revolutions, betrayals, they all began in silence. By the time they were revealed, the plan was already complete. The opponent never saw it coming. That's because they were watching the wrong signals. They were watching what was said, not what was meant. You must become unreadable. Not emotionless, not robotic, but elusive. Let people see fragments. Let them interpret gestures, misread intentions, argue among themselves about your next move. Meanwhile, you are 3 steps ahead, invisible in your precision. A man who is hard to read is hard to manipulate. A man who is hard to manipulate becomes dangerous. That danger turns into influence. People respect what they cannot predict. Even in victory, do not reveal the full story. Let them wonder how you did it. Let them ask questions you never answer. Every time you clarify, you dissolve a bit of your mystique. And mystique is armor. It keeps you untouchable even when you are vulnerable. The moment you reveal everything, you become ordinary. And ordinary men are not followed, they are tolerated. Let your actions speak, but only when they're complete. Until then, remain in the fog. The fog is your rally. It confuses your rivals. It slows down the attackers. It protects your next move. You don't need them to understand your journey. You need them to doubt their own. When your enemy is unsure of what you want, they hesitate. And in hesitation, there is space for you to strike. That is how the silent become powerful. That is how the unknown becomes untouchable. That is how the concealed intention becomes the sharpest weapon in the art of power. You were never just walking through the world. You were being watched. Every word, every glance or weakness on display has always been part of a greater performance. And the crowd, it does not forget. It does not forgive. It waits. You've now seen the blueprint. The 9 things you must never do in public, not if you want to maintain power, protect your image, and survive among wolves. Never show them your pain. Never justify your actions. Never let envy poison your posture. Never let them see your strategy. These aren't just rules for survival. They are the foundation for dominance, for control, for commanding the stage without ever asking to be on it. Machiavelli taught that it is not enough to be virtuous. You must appear virtuous. It is not enough to be wise. You must be unreadable. In public, perception is your true face, and only those who master the game of appearances rule the world behind the curtain. So remember, power is never given to the loudest, the most emotional, or the most open. It is taken, silently, by those who speak less, reveal less, and understand more than anyone around them. Be the one they cannot define. Be the one they cannot predict. Be the one they cannot control. And you will never need to explain yourself to anyone again.